The other part of credibility is not to be like, okay, we represent everybody. We represent whole the local community or whole the society. It is really, I think, important for organization to be aware which kind of population we represent and to try to involve their voice, to help them, and together with 20 people, 25, 100 people, never mind, this is not, but just to be aware of who you want to represent and to ensure that their voice is incorporated in some kind of decision making. So that's only situation like when we are talking about the drafting documents and how the civil society organization can involve and can represent actually their population that, or their group of people that they are working. If you are partners, you will have a conflict of interest. If you monitor if you are partner, you will make some decision together. If you make some decision together with your partners, it won't be possible. It will be great to do like a kind of self-monitoring or self-evaluation, but to have like a completely like objective. And this is amazing, this is always like a circle of different questions. But I always think that it is not necessary to start from that position, because we are all like but always it's and I think that that's kind of unclearness sometimes of what civil society organizations are dealing with, creating the whole story of influences of the civil society, which I mean that it is really like, okay, it is not necessary for, and the situation with the whole civil society sector is not the same. And we need to be aware of this. But we are starting from the point, and when we discuss the context of local, our local context, for example, we started from that we don't have a good cooperation with the government, that they are not listening to us, we don't have a space for influencing, we don't have a space for monitoring, we don't have this, and we don't, government don't inform us very well, that kind of. So, and then, of course, we are always coming back in that what is the purpose of the civil society organizations and how we can organize our work and how we can deal with all of these crucial questions.
As we discussed, in relation to civil society as its role in a context of its relation with its constituency or its people, I think the role of civil society, I think it's quite complex, its role, but also its actions in terms of different level, different perspectives of involvement. So it will be a part, I think, countries like ours all over here are in transition, which also states are in transition, so that civil society, everything in transition, European Union in the place of transition as well in regard to civil society participation. Therefore, we will discuss at this point where we stand now, and so that we will try to take the best out of our approach in dealing with all the issues that matters to mostly at our country level, local level, also regional level if possible. Therefore, we will try to now, at this point, to take into consideration our approach mainly, because it's kind of nature of the communication where when we discuss with governments, they always try to blame civil society organizations or civil society by not being participative in some actions and sometimes involved in some other actors which are kind of questionable. Well, we discuss with civil society organizations, mainly critique goes towards government. So we won't take that now. Hopefully, it would be good as it's part of capacity building within this framework of our work. It would be maybe good to see our standing, and it was quite good that we developed our or discussed our knowledge in relation to our basic existence and our relations in terms of different levels. But I believe we have all into the same level, that is kind of complex issues that we are dealing with, and our approach will be different in terms of different contexts. So we are not, as Jelena started since the beginning of the training, told you that we certainly don't have any kind of standout recipe that it will be solved immediately, taken into consideration. Every country has its legal differences, its kind of cultural approaches, citizens, also politicians, civil society organizations as well, business sector, media as well, how it plays a role. So taken into consideration, we cannot say that we will, from this training, we will take this and we'll use everyone the same, that kind of recipe with those bullet points that will be spread to everyone. So that's, I believe, it's not possible, taking into consideration all the factors. But we'll try to at least to focus on some things, some areas that would be maybe helpful for us as a civil society organizations mainly, in order that we will deal more efficiently, let's say, in our approach in terms of participation in different levels. And we'll discuss in the meantime what would be those, let's say, tools, methodologies, ways of communication with relevant actors in kind of processes that we are dealing with potentially. So challenges that IPA beneficiary countries, Western Balkans and Turkey, are facing in regard to citizens' participation in decision making, country specifics, and common problems that civil society is facing in the region. Oh, okay, regional challenges in decision-making environments. So let's take briefly each one of the contexts. So political willingness, which was more or less mentioned in the context even previously. Transparency and accountability, so that interrelated as well. If you have any further question in relation to it, just immediately ask and we will discuss part of this. But we have some sufficient information afterwards, so we'll try to include everything. Capacity building, which was mentioned by our colleague from Macedonia as well, which I believe is part of it. I will just little bit more talk about this, especially because some areas that we discussed before, it would be good as a part of capacity building to be involved within society as a, let's say, communication with external factors. There are so many issues that capacity building involvement could be helpful with civil society organizations. Not necessarily organizational ones, which is covered by TAXO as well, let's say NGO management and some other areas. But let's say as a part of civil society factor, important factor, it will be like relations with potential stakeholders in local or central levels, depending on the level of involvement. I guess there are kind of environment which local and central, which are quite different ones, I believe, in